Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Relationship Advice. And it's just like the name says. People put up a problem that they're having in their relationship, any kind of relationship, and ask for advice. So let's begin with the first one. Okay, so I'm a huge Marvel nerd. The kind of nerd that cosplays, goes to cons, and draws her own stuff. Mostly fan service. My sister ridicules my hobby, saying that it's pathetic and retarded. She claims I am delusional as a grown woman playing dress-up. Besides that, we have a good relationship. We're not friends, but sisters, if that makes sense. So 3 years ago, I managed to save up enough to go to a con in the USA and meet the real Stan Lee. He signed one of my own pictures I did of the Big Three and complimented it. It was one of the best days of my life. Since then, the signed picture has always been on my wall. Flash forward. A few weeks ago, my sister asks for my jacket, and I tell her no. Reason being that she was a B to me the whole week. She pouted, and I left the house. When I came back, I see my effing Stan Lee autograph ripped up on the floor. I effing lost it. Then my sister came in and started teasing me. Look at that grown woman crying over a piece of paper. When she saw that I was for real distressed, she started saying that it was just a piece of paper, that I can get a new one. I pushed her out of my room and have been extremely short with her. She tries to engage in conversation, but I shoot her down. She tries to bribe me with movie tickets and I tell her to go with her boyfriend, etc. She hasn't apologized for it. She just says that I should be over it by now. My mom is the same. She says materialistic things shouldn't come in between family and that I should simply let it go. My dad is also really mad at my sister and by extension my mom. He is as big on Marvel as me and he was livid when he found out. The whole ordeal is literally splitting our family apart. My mother and sister think I'm being unfair by not letting it go, and I think they both disrespected me. Mom is mad at Dad for not talking sense into me and taking my side, and Dad is mad at Mom for failing to punish my sister and spoiling her. I feel awfully guilty, but also raging mad. Can someone help me, please? Wow, that's a tough situation. If it was my autographed Stan Lee picture, I'd be just as PO'd like OP is saying she is. I'd be livid as well, and I wouldn't forgive my sister until she apologized to me. That's not right. For this one, we're gonna skip comments because we're gonna go straight to an edit and an update. Edit. Thanks guys for listening to me. I feel a lot better. I will take what many of you said and I'm going to send them examples of how much Stan Lee's autographs cost. But I think I have to word it very good so that they don't think that I would split up the family over money. And then she has a short update that we're gonna read before going to the bigger update that comes later, okay? So this is a short update. Thanks for the support. My dad and I found someone that restored pictures and we are taking my piece to it. Dad is going to use part of the money he was going to gift my sister for her car down payment. As you can imagine, sister threw a fit and is staying with mom at my grandparents' house. Whew, way to go, Dad. Alright, let's move on to the larger update that she did. My grandma called me and asked what was happening. I explained to my grandma what happened and tried explaining who Stan Lee was. Surprisingly, she understood just perfectly. I was relieved. For a moment, I thought that my dad and I would get crap from everyone. My sister started giving me crap about telling our grandma and being a snitch. I told her that she asked me and I just told the truth. But what took the cake was that my sister apparently ranted in her friend group chat about me and how she couldn't understand my behavior. She again ridiculed my hobby and so on. One of the dudes was really upset and they had a big argument in the group chat. The dude was so mad that he posted the screenshots in his Instagram story and they spread like wildfire. She is now being ostracized by our community with a few exceptions. My mom and sister came back in the morning. They didn't talk to us much. My mom came in my room and asked if we found someone that restored the picture. We had a short, dry conversation till she asked me why I was making such a big deal about it, and I shut her up like you guys told me to. I started to explain who Stan Lee was, how long the painting took me, how much it meant to me, equated it to the monetary value, and ended it with, it's not only about the autograph, it's about the disrespect you both showed me and how little you seem to care about me. You said that it was not worth to destroy family over materialistic things, but your daughter destroyed my most valuable possession because I didn't lend her my jacket. Yo, my mom cried. She apologized profusely. She said that she just didn't know how to deal with it and just wanted the tension to be over. And as I was more cool-headed than my sister, she selfishly expected me to be the bigger person. My mom and dad are now talking to my sister very seriously because she has yet to apologize for everything. And she should, OP. Your sister should apologize. Regardless whether she knows who Stan Lee is or not, she shouldn't destroy something that you value, clearly value because it's hanging there on your wall, just out of spite because you didn't lend her your jacket. She's being a child. That's not right. She should be taught a lesson. It's great that your dad is using her down payment money for her car to pay for the restoration of your drawing. And she needs to apologize, but not because she's being ostracized by her friends or because your mom and dad are telling her she has to. She needs to apologize because she understands that she hurt you. That's the important part. Anyways, I hope you were able to restore your drawing, and then you have it on your wall again. And I really hope your sister apologizes and she understands how much she hurt you. Okay, now let's move on to the next post. My boyfriend, 23 male, and I, 23 female, have been together 10 months. He lives with his parents, 50s, male and female, and younger brothers, 10, 16, and 18. No sisters. Before current events, he was over my place basically every night. A couple of nights ago, he said that he wants to move in with me, if I'm up for it. I've been to his place more than once, and I've seen how their dynamic works. His mother does everything for all 5 men in that house. Cooking, cleaning, the works. Basically, all they have to do is put their laundry away after she washes, dries, irons, and folds it. The reason the parents aren't forcing them to contribute is that this was the parents' agreement. He works, she's a stay-at-home. So she raises the kids, runs the household, and he pays for everything. With one of the clauses being that as she's doing everything, there's no need to involve the boys. As a result, my boyfriend cannot do anything. I don't know how much of this is actual cluelessness and how much is him trying to get out of stuff, but he has told me, completely sincere, and I checked with his mother, that he can't even fry an egg, which is why when my boyfriend suggested moving in together, I said I wanted him to live alone first. His plan was basically to go straight from his mother's house to my flat. I told him my hesitation, which is that he can't do chores. He then offered to pay more rent, 75%, in exchange for me doing all the chores. I said no, I don't want to be his mother or his maid. I want to be his girlfriend. Then I told him I wanted him to live alone, go from his mother's house to his own place, figure out how to do all the things he's never done for himself, learn basic life skills, and then revisit us living together. This has caused a huge argument, biggest we've ever had. He's taken me saying he has no life skill as an insult, which it kind of was to be fair, and has basically said that clearly I don't want to live with him at all, as I've pushed the moving in time back and have only said we'd revisit after a few months of him living alone. And I did say revisit because I wanted to make sure he actually knew what he was doing and wouldn't immediately switch back to offering more rent for no chores. This was all a couple of nights ago and he's just stopped talking to me. He's at his mom's, he's online, he's talking to mutual friends who have said he is responding, he just won't answer any of my calls or texts. He's told our friends what happened and they're all on his side, saying I was really mean and cruel. I love him and I do want to live with him eventually. I just don't want to live with him if I'm doing everything, and the one thing I don't want is him paying extra for me to do all the housework. Is there some sort of compromise or some option I'm not seeing? What can I do to fix this? This is a difficult situation because living together with your partner is not like living together with a housemate or a flatmate. It's not the same thing. You're in a team relationship, right? And you should both contribute and carry your own weight. Like you said, you don't want to be his mom or his maid. You're her partner. You're equal. You're not supposed to be picking up after him at all. He should be grown enough that he can do things for himself, that he can do his own laundry or cook his own food. I mean, you don't want a guy who doesn't know what to dress unless you sort the options out and put it on top of the bed so he can then just get dressed, right? In my opinion, maybe an option would be to test it out. Lay down the house rules. The rules are he needs to start learning to do things for himself, and you teach him. If he's not open to learning, then it's not a good partnership. If he loves you and he sees how important this really is to you, then he will put in the effort. If not, if doing house chores is just beneath him, or he can't be bothered to learn, then maybe it's not the relationship you really want to be in. There is one user comment I want to read before moving on to the next post. Gangster Napper says, "You don't need to fix anything. Your boyfriend needs to learn to take care of himself, not just expect you to be mommy with benefits. If he's insulted that you said he had no life skills, he should go get some. How is he not wildly embarrassed to be 24 and not do his own laundry anyway?" That's a very fair comment. So here's OP's reply. He says when he was 17 and there was a possibility of him moving away for university, he asked his mom to show him the basics, and she refused because that was her job. So I'd say the parents aren't blameless here. But for the most part, when I say, "How can you not do X?" he just shrugs and says, "No one ever taught me." And if I say he should have learned on his own or found a YouTube tutorial or something, he tells me to stop attacking him because not everyone had to be self-sufficient as a kid the way I did. I had the exact opposite of his upbringing, where I basically took care of my mom from a young age. I think he should be embarrassed that he can't do anything at 24, not even laundry, not even fry an egg. Honestly, YouTube, man. I learned how to boil an egg on YouTube when I moved out of my parents' house. I was super proud of myself when I could really get a perfect boil. Anyways, shrugging it off and saying no one ever taught me, or no, I didn't have your upbringing, that's a cop-out. If you have the will, then you can learn. If not, then you're just being lazy. I'm sorry, that's the way I see it. If you don't want to learn something with all the things we have in today's world that can teach us stuff, YouTube tutorials, Udemy courses, all of that, and we choose not to learn something, then we're being lazy. At least that's my opinion. I don't know if you guys disagree with me. If you do, go ahead and put it in the comment section. But that's the way I feel. I still think they could give it a shot, 1 month where she teaches him the basics, and then he has to go and start doing it by himself. If it doesn't work out or if he doesn't want to learn, that's on him and not on OP. And having said that, let's move on to the last post. I, 46 male, promised my son, 18 male, that his mother and I would match whatever he saved for a car upon his high school graduation. He ended up with a lot more than we could have anticipated, and now we don't know what to do. When he turned 16 and got his license, we allowed him to use an old car from a relative. At that time, my son had around 5K in savings. We made him a promise saying that we'd match whatever he ended up with at graduation. Reasonably, we thought he'd maybe double that to 10,000 through jobs, and we'd match for a reasonable 10,000 car. He now has 35,000 to use for a car. He said he did have a little over 10K, but that he bought smart stock options in April and now will have around 35K after tax. Personally, I don't think he did anything besides get stupid lucky. He is insisting that we follow through with our promise and match that. Financially, it's not a huge dent for us since he also surprised us with a nice merit scholarship that he did earn. The problem arises is that we really don't want to break the promise we made to him, but we also strongly believe that an 18-year-old driving around in a $70,000 car is a very bad idea. He can't even take it to school until his sophomore year, and the insurance on that will be a nightmare. What I am asking is, would the better course of action be to break the promise and likely face resentment, or keep it and cough up the money? Wow, that's a really difficult situation. As a dad, breaking a promise is not good, at least in my opinion. I would always try to keep my promises to my kids and never promise something I can't deliver on. That would just suck, because follow through is incredibly important, and being honest with your kids and keeping promises is incredibly important in any kind of relationship. OP has a couple of edits, so I'm gonna read those before I go into the user comments, okay? Edit 1. Talked about it with my wife. We are considering a couple of avenues at the moment, including trust or maybe fixed income until it can be used for med school. My son uses Reddit, and considering that, this is an r/all now, and I'm just waiting for him to see it and burst into my home office room. Edit 2. He's super duper close with his girlfriend. I told her and she said she'd talk him out of it. Personally, I totally understand where my son is coming from. I wanted a car like that at that age too, and my parents did end up indulging just a little bit, but now I can see how it was a waste of money. I only used it for 2 years. Now let's move on with the user comments. Muppet Star says, personally, a $70,000 car is a lot for an 18-year-old. I'd match the $10K and put the $15K towards a house deposit for him. You honor the money match, but don't put so much to a car, which will depreciate and lose value. The tough bit would be the sell. Agreed. I don't think this is the best way to go about it. Going back on your word and changing the terms is not good. If there is going to be any change, it has to come from the kid. Then Sean Prefect says, I can say that a $70,000 car with an 18-year-old driver, you'll be lucky to get insurance, and even if you do it, it'll be stupid high. And then Gnoixiak, or however you pronounce that, has a reply to Sean Prefect. He says, here's the answer. Make the kid pay full insurance, title, license fees every year. He might want a different path. And this is the point I agree with. What I think OP should do is try to change his son's mind so that OP is not the one backing out of the promise, but the son is asking for a change in terms. So the dad says, fine, here's the $35K, now go buy yourself a car. However, you run with all the costs because that was not part of the deal. The deal was I match what you have. But the title, the insurance, the license fees, and all of that stuff for a $70,000 car is going to be a lot of money that the kid is definitely not going to have. So then when the kids go like, but I don't have that money, then the dad or OP would say, well then there's this other option where I just match for a $20K car and the rest of the money I also match it and we put a down payment or an apartment or a house or a trust fund for med school, whatever you want to do. But, that's one way that I would try to maybe change the agreement without going back on my word. I don't know. What do you guys think? If you have an opinion on this one, which is a tough one because, it's about trust basically, why don't you go ahead and just write it on the comment section. And like usually at this time, we've reached the end of the video. I really hoped you liked it, and if you did, go ahead and click like. If you didn't like it, well, tell me why. I'm always open to feedback. And if you haven't subscribed yet, just do it and join this community. I'll see you guys on the next video.